Hello, this is Gary at Bushcraft. Thank you for watching our video. This week I'm going to talk a little around things that you might want to consider when you're in the market to buy a tarp. There are lots and lots of tarps out there on the market, and sometimes trying to decide which one is going to be the right one for you can be a difficult task. Now, I'm not going to recommend any particular brand or tarp. I'm just going to go through a few things that you might want to consider. With that said, the one I've got up here behind me, this is a DD tarp, 3 meters by 3 meters. I've been using them for years. This one in itself is 12 years old. It gets dragged out on courses week in, week out, and it's still going strong. But as I say, I'm not here doing product placement. I don't have any affiliation with DD. They're not paying me to say any of that. Yeah, I've used them for years and they work fine, but make up your own mind. So there are a number of things that you're going to want to consider when you're thinking about what tarp to get yourself. So, and in no particular order, first up, what shape should it be? Now, I'm a big fan of a square tarp, so there are some out there that are more rectangular. I like a square tarp. For me, it gives me more options on how I'm going to configure my tarp. Potentially with a square tarp as well, you can run a line kind of diagonally across it and pitch it as a diamond shape. That gives you an awful lot of space underneath. But as I say, personally, I'm very much in preference of a square tarp. After shape, you might want to think about the size of the tarp. So as I say, this is the 3 meter by 3 meter tarp. I find that gives plenty of space underneath it, and that whether that be if I'm in a hammock or indeed if I'm laying on the floor, 3 by 3 is plenty of room to get me underneath, plenty of room to get all my belongings under as well. And actually, about 16 years ago, a friend and I were canoeing along the Wye, so we took I think like an 8-9 day trip down the River Wye, and we both stayed under a 2.8 by 2.8 meter tarp for the whole of that journey. We were both under there. We had all of our belongings under there, and we didn't get wet. Well, at least not at night we didn't get wet. We got plenty wet during the day because it rained a lot, but that's another story. So for me, 3 by 3 is ample size. Once you start getting bigger than that, so obviously you've got the pack down size and the pack down weight to consider as well. But once you get into the forest, into the woods, you're now limiting the options you have and where you can pitch your tarp, because you're now looking for big gaps between trees. I would especially on that note just kind of point out that, so say for instance you've got a 4.5 meter tarp, you're likely to have trees about 5 meters apart. If you're going to hammock underneath that, that's a lot of line on either end, and that's just going to increase the amount of sway that goes on in your hammock. So yeah, as I say, square, 3 meters squared. A really key thing to be looking out for are the number of fixing points that you have on your tarp. So the bits where you're going to tie your lines from. To some extent, the more the merrier. The more fixing points you have, the better. But I would absolutely suggest that you go for a tarp that has an odd number of fixing points. So if you have an odd number, so for instance this one has 5 fixing points along each side, that means there is a fixing point in the center. So if you have an even number of fixing points, so 4 for instance, there'll be one on either corner and then one along here somewhere, one a little bit further along, but there won't be one in the middle, and that does massively reduce the number of configurations that are available to you. So 5 is good, 4 not so, 6 not so. So go with one with an odd number of fixing points. You also want to look at how those fixing points are actually attached to the tarp. So this one, I'll bend that around, you can see it's reinforced on the inside. So we've got this extra piece of plastic there, and then the tape is sewn on through that reinforcing. So I know you can get sort of tarps that are, you know, quite inexpensive and have sort of brass eyelets going through here. My experience, as soon as you put any tension on those eyelets, they just tear out. So go for something that has got good reinforcing here on the fixing points. I can recount a tale of Bob, one of our instructors. He had bought himself a lightweight tarp, and one of the ways that you can make, or a manufacturer can make a tarp lighter, is to miss out bits like this reinforcing, and that's what they'd done. The wind picked up a bit, not to the extent that we were concerned about being in the woods, but nonetheless it was a little blowy, and essentially the fixing points tore out of Bob's tarp. So what he'd gained in losing a little bit of weight, he actually lost, because the fixing points all came out of place, so we had to do a few repairs on it. If you are wild camping, you're probably going to want to think about the colour of your tarp. So this one, green, it's great at this time of the year, it blends in really well. When we get into the autumn, winter, where the trees are dropping or have dropped their leaves, then this green is going to stand out like a sore thumb. So at that time of year, I swap over and I use a brown tarp. Of course, there are camouflage tarps out there as well that are going to probably see you through most of the year. The key point, however, think about the environment in which you will find yourselves, and then get a tarp that is the appropriate colour for that environment, so that you are able to blend in. So, very quick recap. Think about the shape of the tarp, the size of the tarp, the number of fixing points, whether those fixing points are reinforced. Think about the colour of your tarp. Taken as a whole, hopefully that will enable you to make a good decision. I hope that's of use to you. So there's some things there that you might want to have a little think upon before you go and spend your hard-earned cash. I will try my best to get some more content out next week. You can make sure that you don't miss out on that. You can subscribe either to our blog or to our YouTube channel, either of which are Jack Raven Bushcraft. In the meantime, take care.